This is inspired by the influences of women in tech and how that empowerment can contribute to their success and the innovations of the future. Was there a particular incident or situation that led to the idea?
So the big thing is, so it's kind of more of a personal journey, right? As most things are. As an artist, you learn, and I think we always know that artists, it's hard to separate the artist from the creator, or the artist from the creation. But I always thought that that was kind of different, that was just in the artistic world and not necessarily in the rest of the world. But as I made a transition into entrepreneurship, like in my early 20s, started to build other businesses, was raised by CEOs, around a lot of founders, worked in marketing and branding, you start to see that business operates in the same way. That the organization, the creation, the innovation can't be separated from the creators. And that naturally, women have a different way of leading and a different kind of artistry and a different story. And so it's not, it's women's empowerment, but just generally the importance of having inclusive business culture, and especially in a leading industry such as technology. We need the voices and the creators and the artists and the leadership of a lot of different backgrounds, right? It's important to have, it affects what is created.
Well, I think, Carly and I came together and I'd had exposure to the tech world. My boyfriend is in technology and has a company that I watched him build from the beginning all the way through raising venture capital and watching that process and being lucky enough to be around leaders, men and women, and kind of watching their journeys and learning the ins and outs and intricacies of that world. And with Carly's background, when we came together and we were just like, I want to make something, we want to make something now that's attainable, that we can do, that we also can share our voices and make an impact. I think both of us, when we create any kind of art or anything in the entertainment world or any content that we're putting out into the world, it's important that our voices are making an impact and that we're saying something that's important. So kind of those things all came together and we were like, oh, what if, this could be something great and also fun, and also it doesn't exist on TV, so there's a good hole for it. And
there you go.
Beta was born.
Well, since you were both creating your own characters, what specific characteristics did you want for them, either to be comfortable with them or to play into your strengths as performers?
I think a little bit of both, probably. As we were writing, we both talked about how we could have flipped roles, like both of these women. Like if we flip this on its head and I was Delta and she was Leanie, what would that look like? But I think we had a lot of fun in finding ourselves in the roles and then also building a character. There are certainly things, at least for Leanie, for me, that I connect with in a very close personal way. And then there are things that I had to find and remember about her and kind of grow with her.
I think that really, the interesting part of this and what we're looking at is this kind of odd couple effect too, right? These extreme opposites. And the idea of the masculine part within all of us and the hyper feminine part within all of us. And so creating this polarity between the two characters was really important because, again, we see that traditionally like men and women, but we don't usually, within ourselves. And so these two characters, for Adri and I as individuals and as artists, and then in order to kind of accomplish what the story needed to accomplish, just finding that really intense, that really extreme energy on both sides. And I think when it came to our dynamic, we'd worked together on a few other things, and so tapping into kind of where we just kind of naturally were, feeling a little bit more inclined or falling, and I don't know, it just kind of like, it was all very organic how it emerged.
Very good, very good. Since the initial theme of the show is women in tech and the obstacles they have to jump over to get a stronger presence, how did the development of the series start to parallel the situations that were going on in the story?
There was definitely some situation. Gosh, I remember when we started with initially before the series, we started with kind of a bigger idea of, gosh, maybe we could build a platform and we could build a live blog that we could run along with the series. And there were so many ideas that we had to like kind of contain it. But in that process and in conversations with some people, there were some people that we were like, yeah, they don't get it. As two young women walking in offices or in rooms pitching this idea, we definitely faced a little bit of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and the nature of getting anything off the ground. So whether it's a tech company, whether it's a store, a small business, whether it's a play, whether it's a show and a TV series, every industry is unique. It has like its little details that are off, and tech certainly has a lot of its own, it has its own world. But the journey of launching something and getting it off the ground is pretty consistent. So there are, when it comes to the story of Beta and these two women coming together and getting this off the ground, and then us getting getting a business off the ground, and then us getting this project moving, you go through the same you hit the same milestones.
So in a web series, it's sort of an ongoing story. How did you outline and frame the entire story of the series before breaking it into episodes? And what changed in the story when you started creating those separate episodes?
Oh gosh, there's so much more to tell.
Not only in the series.
Our hope for this is that it lives in a half-hour world. The web series is kind of serving as it's kind of like a calling card for like, hey, this is what it can be. And we certainly had scenes that ended up getting cut that we wanted to write in, or dynamics between them, or backstory for the characters that we wanted to show that we just didn't have time or money to shoot. So there was definitely that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were pretty clear and good from a structural perspective, knew kind of what the whole journey, like what this series represents, and what's cool. Right. So I think you have to hit the biggest level first, which is like, what are we trying to accomplish with this? What is the full journey? What's the full arc? And choosing Leanie to be the narrator for that story took some time, because it was like, who's going through, while both characters go through an enormous change, essentially flipping roles. Leanie's journey was much more of a kind of, it was just, she was the perfect voice to kind of narrate the whole thing. And so I think once we saw the big thing, what starts to shift is to go like, okay, what goes into season one? Like where do we need to go? And as you start to break it down, it's like, that's got to go later. It's too much.
Right. Excellent.
Focus on
Excellent answer.
Restore.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2020.